Yo, what up, everybody? Guys, welcome back to Swahili Nation, Swahili to the world. And this is One Africa Forum that we have every single day with you guys out there. So I appreciate you guys for coming in. We have 8 people here. It's a little number of people. I gotta say that, a lot of time I'm trying not to lose my focus because of that, but I can't help. I just see the number right there. I just see it. But you guys mean a lot to me. 7 people who we have right here, right now. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. I know all of you might have a lot of things to do, right? But you decided to come here and to be part of what we're doing here in One Africa, here in Swahili Nation. So I want to appreciate you. I want to appreciate Rangmon Music. Appreciate Grace and Peace, Swahili Nation. I've seen you a lot of time. Thank you for the love and support. You mean a lot. Salute to you. Nana Dreams, all the way from Ghana. I know, I appreciate. I've seen you a lot. So I appreciate so much for stopping by. And Reach Francis, our member here in Swahili Nation. Swahili Nation. Come on, Swahili Nation, Reach. I got to do this, all right? I gotta do this. Appreciate you, brother, for coming out as well and come to support what we're doing right here. I see you, brother. I know yesterday I was not here, but I was here behind the scene. The day before that I was not here, but I was here, and I've seen you, brother, being there. Salute. Yeah, man, selector. Salute to you, brother. We have Sarah here in the house. Stephanie Asia. Okay, guys. All in all, I gotta say this, guys, that I appreciate every single one of y'all. Those people who are commenting right now, those people who are coming, those people who don't comment, those people who are just sitting back there and listening every day. Consume. And we might have some spies here, but I appreciate you too. All right, I appreciate that you're part of this, because in a team you have all those kind of people. Remember the the disciples of Jesus. They had Judas within those 12 different disciples, but they have everybody. All right, so I assume that we might have Judas as well, but it's all well. You guys are part of the. I'm sorry, guys. All right. Some of you might be thinking that he's calling me Judas. I'm never going to come back there again. Guys, that's not what I'm saying. All right. I'm just saying that in a group of people, you'll have all those kind of people, people who are there to support, people who are there. They don't say anything, but they're just outside. They're just listening. People who are there. They're trying to think that, is this the right movement for me to be in? Is this the right place for me to be in? Like, you're just spectator, right? You're just thinking that, should I comment? Should I go? Should I speak something? Should I say something? Like, should I? Is this guy? Oh, he looked. You have all those kind of people. That's the point what I'm trying to make, right? But all in all, I want to appreciate every single one of y'all. You guys mean a lot. And I'm just going to go ahead to shout out to some members here, to some people. Let me say this, guys. For members, for all the members of Swahili Nation here, guys, I have exclusive something for y'all. So I shared with only members one of the very personal video with members. Very personal. I've never shared something like this with anyone. All right, if you're a member, you understand this. Reach, I don't know if you've seen the video I've shared, but I've shared a special video with only member. Something like this, I've never, ever shared with anyone in my entire life. Not on Instagram, not on YouTube, not on Facebook, not anyone. Even my close friend, they don't know this. It's exclusive. Because some part of me, it was kind of like feeling ashamed of some certain things. And I didn't want people to see it. But exclusively, for the first time, I shared with members. I know you guys, you want to see this video. And I hope I'll come to release to everybody later on. But now, I'm just going to leave for that. Because you guys, members, you guys mean a lot. And I'm sharing with you, like I'm taking you where you are, and I'm bringing you closer to me. Reach, you didn't find this. Reach, if you go on YouTube, you will be able to access the video I shared. 22 minutes of me. 22 minutes. I shared 22 minutes of my personal life. Me, things that I've never shared with anyone. That video is available on YouTube, and it's only available for members. So if you want to access that video, And if you want to become a member, let me share with you the link right now in the comment section. And Rich, let me say this for all the members. In the community tab, always check it out, the community tab, because in the community tab, that's where I share different stuff. So for members, you guys, one of the things that I promised you is that you have an access to, you have ability to access videos I shared before anyone else. But there are other exclusive videos that I don't share with anybody but members. So I don't know. It depends, because exposing, when you're doing this stuff, kind of like, One Africa, movement and what we're doing here, it's very risky, right? It's very risky when you bring people close and to show them everything, to show your family, to show all this stuff. It's kind of risky, right? So I'm trying to be careful with that. But for you guys members, I decided to take that risk. Even if I really want to live in Tanzania. Yes, you see, my brother, even if so members, the link is in the comment section. If you join and become a member, I have exclusive video of my life. And I shared the worst moment, the lowest point of my life. The lowest point of my life. These things, guys, I've never shared with people, with anyone, but it's there exclusive. You saw it. Okay, Rich saw it. Yes. Anyways, that thing, Rich, that video, it means a lot to me because it's very, very personal. And I don't share things like that. Anyways, guys, I appreciate that just to start. So I want to extend my gratitude to all the members of this channel. I want to appreciate you guys for coming and support. You guys help me, support me a lot. And I'll be very honest today, all right? I'll be very honest with you guys because I need to tell you guys how much I appreciate you guys, all right? I need to say that. And please, if you're not a member, don't feel bad that, I feel bad that I'm not a member. Don't feel bad. I know people here in Africa, a lot of them, they cannot even join because that option is not there available, right? But I want to appreciate members here. You guys, you help me, all right? You guys, you support me. You guys, you help me to be here where I am. I'll tell you this, the thing is the content that we choose right now, the content, I will talk about this again later, but the content that we are doing right now and we choose, it doesn't give anything. The content I'm doing right now and the content that we are doing, which is doing live stream every single day at this time, it doesn't give anything. This video, even if I monetize it, it doesn't give anything because the live stream people, they just join right now. And later on, people, they don't really watch. So it doesn't really produce anything. But the only way that you guys are supporting is for those members or the super chat that people are giving during the live stream. That's how you make a little bit of tiny of money, this much, through that. So I want to appreciate you members, and I want to appreciate you guys who are supporting, because you guys, you have to know that you mean a lot. You give me energy to come here every single day and to continue to talk. Otherwise, I'm telling you, a lot of people, they give up this, all right? Because it's like community work, all right? It's a community work. A lot of people, they give up, they give up. But the reason why we're not going to do that, it's because we're not doing this for money. That's not the reason why we're doing this. We're doing this because we believe and we have a vision. I have a vision for Africa. I have a vision for my people. You guys, you do so. You believe you are here. And there's a lot of people working behind the scene right now, guys, that you don't even know them, but they're working in the scene 24/7 to support this, and they don't receive anything because there's nothing. Guys, there is nothing, but they're working, they commit themselves, they give everything. Right now, as I'm saying, we just had a meeting since 6 p.m. 6 p.m. in the evening until right now, until like we have to kick each other away that, oh guys, now you can leave, right? We just had a meeting for more than 2 hours. People, they left their job, they left their family, they left everything, and they're just there for more than 2 hours talking about One Africa, talking about this, how we're moving forward, talking about their trip, we're going to Ethiopia, talking about these things with nothing. Guys, nothing. These people, they don't receive anything. There's nothing. Let me appreciate them today. I appreciate you guys. You guys, you know yourself. I appreciate you. I love you. I honor you. I love you with everything I got. And I want everybody to know that we have good people in Africa. People who give everything they can and they don't even expect anything. Those are people that I'm working with here in One Africa. Those are people that are here. We're working together. They don't receive anything. They have jobs, they have family, they have everything. They don't. You guys have seen Ezra here yesterday, the day before that. Every time I don't show up, Ezra is here. Say, this guy, he don't receive anything. He's just there to give. He's just there to respect to Ezra. Respect to those people who are coming here and support and join the conversation, raise their voice. Respect to you guys. You guys, you mean a lot. You guys, I don't know what I can say, but you guys, you mean a lot. And I'm not going to stop coming here every single day. I'm not going to stop. You might not see this face another day, but there's an Ezra here. There's somebody there. Sometimes I'm just behind the scene. I don't do anything because I need to take a break. I'm still sick and I'm still recovering. But I appreciate you guys for everything that you're doing. I can take the whole day to appreciate because it's very important. We don't have any organization that supports One Africa. We don't have any white man that is supporting Africa. Because we do believe that Africans, we are going to support ourselves and we are going to stand on ourselves. That's what we believe. And no matter how hard it gets, but we're going to always come here and we're going to always speak. We're going to always share. We're going to always plan. We're going to plan as if we have a lot of money. And those are the plans we're planning right now. If you see, we need billions of money for things we are planning right now. We need that. But we don't have even $1. Later on, guys, hopefully every next year we'll come here, we'll share with you guys. All right, we'll share with you guys. You will know the stuff, you will know how it is, you know how it works, you will see clearly the vision, the mission. We're working on that every single day, but we'll be able to share with you guys soon. But what you can do right now, and this I want to ask everybody before we jump to the presentation of today. What you can do, first thing, pray. Pray to whoever God you know. Pray so much for all people you hear them here, for these faces you see here. Pray so much that God will give us strength, will help us to stand and not giving up in the way. Because a lot of people, they start with good intention, they end up worse because of money. Pray for us. Somebody today comes to you that, you know what, I want to support you. I want to give you 100 million, to establish, to do this and this, all those stuff, all those promising. We need your prayer. And you see, and I gotta say this, you see like everything, you see how much this money will help. You see how much this money will support. You see what it will do to that. You see what it will do to that. You see what a lot of people, they fall under that. They fall under that. You fall. But you guys, what you can do, you can pray for us. Second, you can support however you can. 40 people who are here watching right now, this is how you support. Not everybody will give super chat. Not everybody will be a member. But some people will be there to just support, to speak, will be there to pray, will be there to do those things. That means a lot. And I'm telling you, if you guys are not going to hold One Africa with everything you got, One Africa is not going to stand. We need you. We need everybody to be involved. We need you. This is the vision that God has given us, and we need people to be involved, to stand with, to walk with, to change this generation, to change Africa, to have about a united Africa. We need that. We need you guys to work with us every single day. I need every single one of you to stand together, to walk together, to bring about unity to this beautiful continent of Africa. Everywhere, even Libya. We're going to be talking about Libya today. We're going to be talking about how are we going to bring the North Africa to Africa? How can we be part? How can we be working together? How can we be one people? Because a lot of time we forget them. We just think about even them, they forget us. Some of them, they don't include them as Africans. We know that. And some of you don't like that. Why are we talking about Libya? They don't even think that they're Africans. Why? They think they're Arabs. Why? Okay, they think about that, but we are going to educate them today. Tell them, hey, you guys, you might look different, but you are Africans, and we love you, and we want you to be with us in this movement as well. We're going to talk about that. All right, guys, that was a little introduction. I'm very excited. But those are a little appreciation. I share the link in the comment section. If you want to join and become a member and support, please, you can go and you can choose any category you like. to support, that would be amazing. That's one way. But another way as well, you can go through this link here website and to become my Patreon, and you can see a lot of details I've written right there. And you can support my vision as well. All right, let me have a quick word of prayer, and yes, we're gonna start. By the way, if you guys you don't know, today is what I didn't mention, that is Libya's Independence Day. The fate of that country, because we know the big role that country is playing in the African Union, in one Africa. Give us wisdom. Even my brother here, my brother will be presenting about Libya today. Give him wisdom as well. And give us understanding. Help us to reconcile. Help us to love one another. To have peace, to want peace with one another. And to have a united, a one Africa. I thank you. I pray all these things in Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. Amen. All right, guys, if you have a friend from Libya, tell them to come here. We're going to talk about Libya. Happy Independence Day, Libya. And today we're dedicating to Libya. So here I have my brother who is coming. This presentation about to talk about it, to share with us why he's passionate about this and what he sees. He's going to share with us this. So I want you guys to do this. All right, invite somebody there. This number we have right now, we can invite more people to come and to participate in this. It's a time to know our own continent. My brother here is going to come and talk about Libya. One way of appreciation: invite somebody and tell them to come. We are talking about Libya today. Tell them to come and let's talk about Africa. All right, because Africa is our own continent and it matters to us. Libya matters to us. Libya's peace is Africa's peace. If your neighbor is not at peace, you cannot be at peace. You want peace for Libya. I don't even have a Libyan friend, but I want peace for Libya. You don't need to have a Libyan friend to want a peace for them. So invite somebody here. Invite somebody, all right? Invite somebody. Invite somebody, guys. With all being said, I'm going to welcome my brother now to come and to begin to share about Libya. Hey, Pi, what's up, my brother?
Yeah, I'm okay. It's a little bit early where I am.
Yeah. How are you, brother, today?
I'm good.
How are you feeling?
I'm a little bit tired.
Yeah.
Actually,
Well,
I had a lot of coffee today because it's 3 a.m. where I'm at.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have that a feeling of? Does it feel like Independence Day today? Does it feel like that?
Yeah, it feels like it's a special day. I mean, it's an Independence Day and it's Christmas where I am right now
But
because
I
I'm a
wanna
day ahead.
ask you. Yeah. Okay. Appreciate. I wanna ask you one question. What is this flag that you have on your profile?
Oh, it's the Universal Negroes Improvement Association flag. It's it's basically the alternate. It's one of the alternate flags that somebody created. It's not official though.
All right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was very curious. I was like, who is this guy? I feel like I'm talking to a country's president. Is there a new country there with this flag? And I don't know.
No, maybe one day though they'll look like that.
Definitely, brother. So, brother, welcome. We're gonna. I'm very excited to hear, what you prepared today for us. You guys, you have to know that my brother here, he worked really hard to prepare for this. So let's appreciate him for the good work, and I cannot wait to listen to hear. And you guys, if you'll have any input, any questions, please you can prepare them, and we can have you guys a little bit later on. But my brother, the floor is yours. Yes, you can take it over.
All right. All right, how do I just press the share button, right? Correct.
Yes, I
Okay.
can do that.
In the 20th century, Libya, it was a war-torn country. It fought its independence against the Greece, the Romans, the British, the Americans, and the Italians. However, on December 24th, in 1951, it was given its independence. I believe it was the first country by the United Nations to be given its independence. And it's also the same day its independence was recognized by the West, and its independence was also supported by the United Arab League. Its first king. He was the king of the new constitutional monarchy. It was called a monarchy at the time. Actually, a lot of the symbols that they had in government was really reflective of that. And on the discovery of oil in Tripoli, they began to sell to the Western powers, which is actually pretty interesting, because the same Western powers, the U.S. and the British, the same ones that they kicked out of the country, they actually allowed them to come back in. Like, there were military bases that were set up by both the British and the America there, because they wanted to take advantage of the oil that was in the country. So King Idris at the time allowed them to come back in. However, the country was transformed from an independent country to a modernized civilization. So although the country, they had more freedom at the time because they kicked out their former colonizers, they weren't independent. Like, in modern civilization, as far as Africa, I believe you can tell what your GDP, like how much money your country makes, by the number of military bases that are in that country. For example, if a country doesn't have many military bases, or if the foreign military base that they have is really small, their GDP is a lot higher than countries in Africa that have a lot of military bases, because the resources are controlled. It's like food. If I'm giving you, if it's like Malcolm X said, like, who controls your food controls your life. Like, if I determine what you eat, I can determine when you eat. I can determine how you eat it and stuff like that. That's what they're doing with the resource at the time. However, he was dethroned by Muammar Gaddafi during the 1969 coup. He was a graduate, I believe, of Benghazi University, and he was also a part of the military. And the country at the time went through many national reforms under its head of state. I call him the head of state. Like, that's the only term that I really think is appropriate, because a lot of the other terms that he had were either politicized, or they either politicized him to make him seem the worst, like he never did anything for the country, or then they were sensationalized, or mystified, made him seem like he didn't do anything wrong. So that's the only term that I think is appropriate, like head of state. Next slide. Gaddafi's government reformation ideals. One thing that I thought that was really surprising is that he abolished political parties. Now, a lot of people that hear when they abolish political parties, like, oh, this is communism, this is a dictatorship, but it's actually quite the opposite. In fact, when I was a kid, the only thing that I ever heard about Gaddafi was he was they just called him a dictator. That's the only thing I ever really heard about him. But the abolition of political parties led to what he called the People's Congress. I believe it's called the People's Congress and the Popular Congress. The People's Congress, they were the actual people, like, they were just regular civilians of Libya that could go in and redress the government. And the Popular Congress was made up of they're made up of the people, the same civilians, but the ones that became professional. Like they, I believe they're the ones that passed the laws, and the people were the one that petitioned the laws. And he eliminated classism in politics, because when you I believe one of the problems that we have right now, especially in Africa, is that the political parties, the same ones that they say they're for the workers, if you're for the workers, you say you're for the workers, yet you're getting paid so much money, and you don't even live where the same people you're trying to reach live. Like it doesn't make much sense. Like that's classism. Like if you're making a lot of money in government, that money should be going directly back to the people. And he was that's one of the things that he believed. And it was, the government was redressed by the people. Like there were a lot of reforms at the time that I'll get into, I believe, in the next slide. And he didn't believe in representative democracy, because, for example, if I'm part of the there are two political parties. Like I'm part of the Workers' Party, and it's about the middle class, versus a different party that might be for a different class of people, or an ethnic group or a tribal group. That party will get all the reforms, and they'll have to wait another four plus years until they can have their own representation. But he didn't believe in that. He believed in direct rule by the people. And also another thing that I found interesting was it wasn't really true in actuality, but he symbolically stepped down as his role of chairman. Like, so there's a difference between de facto and de jure. De jure is like in actuality, de facto is officially. Like he wanted to symbolize that that he was like a revolutionary, like, and he had limited amount of power. Like in reality, it was a struggle between the people and the elected officials. The elected officials are citizens, and him as well. So there were actually some times where that I read up. I have to continue reading on it. There were some times where he wanted the law to be passed, like giving like more of the oil money back to the people, and it didn't pass in Congress. So he didn't have absolute power. He wasn't an absolute autocrat, because if he was an absolute autocrat, an absolute dictator, then that means that a lot of the reforms that happen in the country would not have gone back to the country at all. They would have gone all to him, and he would have had supreme power. The last thing that I thought was beneficial was the coexistence with Black African countries. Like from all the research that I did on all the sources, I didn't see any examples of him being used by the West to subjugate the West, just like what's going on with Egypt at the moment. So that's one thing that I thought was important about Gaddafi. Like he wasn't controlled by anybody, because he had control over the state. For example, during what I believe was one of the reasons why they wanted to overthrow King Idris was because he didn't support Palestine in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in the 20th century. So that's how he rose. That's how he rose to power. That's why he was supported, and he kicked the military bases out of the country. So he could set the price of the oil, and he was more safe compared to the other African leaders at the time, because whenever he wanted to pass reforms that would help the country, he wouldn't have to answer to the military that were in the country. He wouldn't have to worry about them ordering a coup against them. In fact, a lot of the assassination and the coup attempts against Gaddafi in the 20th century, they failed because he had absolute control of the country. There weren't already people, at least ones that he knew, like military officials that were there that could coup against him, like what he did against the king. So he had a lot of control over the government. and he always spoke out against any injustices that happened against the country. And because he was very vocal about it, again, they always called him a dictator for it. Yeah, I'll go to the next slide. Oh, prosperity in North Africa. Like, this isn't even all of them, but there were a lot of reforms that happened in the 20th century, like free healthcare, especially in a country that was based on originally was based on warlords and foreign powers and militias and the military fighting against each other, struggling for power. If you have free healthcare, that's really important. And number two, redistribution of wealth. A lot of the wealth in the country from the oil went directly back to the people. Although he did benefit, certain times, like on television, you would see like he's wearing like this a gold robe. So obviously he benefited as well. But it went directly back to the people. It wasn't just in the power of the state, because the people represented the state. The people were involved in the government. So because the people were involved in the government, they benefited as well, and it couldn't be withheld from them, because there wasn't compared to democracies of the West at the time, there wasn't as much of a separation between the governed and the government, because the people that were governed were a part of the government, if that makes sense. There were also housing rights. One of the propaganda that I saw that everyone had housing, which wasn't true, but he tried to make it so that as much people would have housing as possible. Again, it was supported by the oil of the country. And education was also free as well, because I believe one of the ways that Gaddafi knew that he had to expel the military bases at the time was because of his studies at Benghazi University. Like I believe his major was, if I remember correctly, his major was history. So he looked at what happened in the past, just like we're doing it right now, so that he can determine the future of his country. And I believe the most important one out of all of these is to stabilize currency. Like, there are both in the 20th and the 21st century. The Libyan dollar was almost the same value as the U.S. dollar, without it being the global currency. There were also many egalitarian reforms. Even in Libya back then, compared to some Arab countries now, the egalitarian reforms are a lot better, and the situation is better compared to how it is now. I give you some examples. Like, the women could drive. I believe not all women. It wasn't seen as taboo for women not to wear hijabs as Muslims. There were women in the military. Like, if you looked at some of the old videos on YouTube, you would see Gaddafi, and then you would see two female soldiers in the background. They were also able to. Another reform, they were also able to go to the store without a male companion. So yeah, there were a lot of egalitarian reforms, which is another reason why I believe it's better to call him a head of state than a dictator, because a lot of the reforms that he had in the country, even in the 20th and the 21st century, a lot of democracies now in the West don't even have the same, or even a lot of Arab or even African countries don't even have them. So to just call him a dictator and said he was a horrible person is not really representation of what he was. He's more of a controversial figure that I believe he did more good than bad. And the last one is the right to 100% self-rule by the people, by the government, and by himself as a leader of the country. Like, there wasn't much foreign influence in the country. Like, it was mostly self-determined by the Libyan people. And the reason why he was able to do this is because the only military and militias that were there, they were Libyans. They weren't Americans, they weren't British, they weren't Italians, Greeks, or Romans. They were just Libyans. The state was destabilized. I think we can learn from what happened in Libya. And I wanted to show the video, but I don't want any copyrights. So next slide. Oh. So Gaddafi's role in Pan-Arabism. Now Gaddafi, he was a Pan-Arabist, obviously, because believe between the 600 and 800, there was an invasion from Middle East into Africa. But they were there for over, I believe, they were there for over 1,200 years. So I still consider them African, especially over 1,200 years, especially because there has been a history of us invading each other as well. So we can't say that they're not African just because they come from the Middle East 1,000 years ago when we did the same thing. So I think it's important to call. He was not only a Pan-Arabist, he was a Pan-Arabist, a Pan-Africanist, and he was a nationalist. So he had the whole Arab League on his back. Like he tried to unify the Middle East, and he wanted to end separatism and treason in the Arab League, because a lot of the neocolonialism is not just about power and self-determination. Even countries that are wealthy can be neocolonized as well, including the U.S. Like they're not making decisions on their own, but that's a whole different discussion. But yeah, he tried to unify them. He tried to. No one was denouncing Saddam Hussein being murdered by the American government, and they were very separated. Like some countries were independent, totally independent. Others were neocolonized, and others they were so-so, kind of like what's happening in Africa at the moment. Another thing that Gaddafi did was he denounced the Arabs' role in the transatlantic slave trade, and I believe he was the only one that I could find that did so. That was an Arab in North Africa, born in North Africa, that did so. He apologized for it. Yeah. He also supported liberation movements in Palestine, which is when I believe they started calling him an autocrat. They called it's kind of ironic because Israel, they're supported by the U.S. government. They're given foreign aid in the form of military weapons, and they were called heroes for that. But he has supported their own side. I don't have a stake in this because I'm neither a Jew or a Muslim. And Libya, they did the same thing. They gave them weapons because they wanted the original Palestine, but he was called a dictator for that. So the one side that has more of a democracy, a direct democracy in Libya, was called a dictator, but one that has a representative democracy, which can be manipulated by the people that have the most wealth, was called a hero, which is kind of funny. Like Israeli commandos, they're called soldiers. Arab commandos are called terrorists. Revolutionary fighters are called freedom fighters. It's the same like firefighters fight crime. No, firefighters fight fire. Crime fighters fight crime. Revolutionary fighters, they fight treason. Like they fight further liberation. But after years of bloodshed between the Israelis and the Palestinians, one thing that he spoke out against was he wanted them to just stop the violence. He wanted them to coexist. Like he wanted the Israeli passport to have as much of an influence, like as much of a freedom movement as a Palestinian passport, because in the Middle East there are Palestinians that live in Israel, and there are Israelis that live in Palestine. So he worked towards that. He in the United Nations and in the Arab League, but again he was standing on his own. If you watch a lot of the older speeches where he would speak out against the issues that they were having, you would see a lot of leaders laughing at him or just staring blankly at him or stuff like that. They didn't help him. Like he was on his own. He had to carry Africa, the Middle East, and Libya on his back. No one really supported him, except one time. I'll talk about that as well in later slides. But yeah, he was an advocate of Arab League autonomy. But a lot of the Arab leaders, even now, they traded their independence for wealth and prosperity. because of all the oil, like in OPEC, that is given to the West in both the US and in Europe, they're very wealthy, but at the same time, they're not independent. Because if they change, for example, and US is, if they said tomorrow that we're no longer selling our oil in dollars, we're going to sell it in Chinese yuan, you would see all these reports coming out from the West that, oh, they're dictators. They need to be stopped. They need to be. We need to do a peace operation in the Middle East, like what's happening with Ethiopians arbitrarily detained in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia decided to sell their oil in a different currency that's not the U.S. dollar. We would hear about that. So a lot of in modern history, it's called his story. It's written by the winners, and it's written by two different sides. Like there's not always a good and a bad in history. There's a lot of gray area, I believe. So I believe that independence and freedom, they're two different struggles, because you can be an independent country and not be free, but you can have freedom and a lot of freedom in the country, but not independence. Like where I live right now is Republic of China, Taiwan. They're very free, but if they were to make unilateral decisions on their own, independent of U.S. and China, they would end up losing their freedom. So I believe it's two different struggles, and Gaddafi worked towards both the independence and the freedom of not only Libya, but the Middle East and Africa as well. Next slide. Oh, Gaddafi, he had a war against tyranny. Like he was fighting so many different forces at once. Like he was fighting the neocolonialism of the U.S. and Europe. He was fighting against the media and how they viewed him, because he was always viewed as a dictator. I didn't even know that Libya had any form of democracy at all when I was a kid. Like when I was a little kid, while I'm watching this stuff on television. He also fought against treason. Like he was a no-nonsense guy for treason, whether it was in the Arab League, United Nations, or in Libya. Like people, they were pacified really, really quickly if he believed that they were treasonous, which I believe was part of the reason that that the West used against his downfall, which we'll discuss there as well. Also against Muslim subjugation. Like he wanted all Muslims to have as much freedom as he had in his country. Like he wanted them to have their form of direct democracy as well. But after he didn't see much success in the Arab League, he decided to make African reforms as well for other countries. Like there was African Development Bank. Originally actually the people that were giving loans to Africa that they had to pay off, it wasn't Chinese, it was the American and Europe. But Gaddafi, a lot of the loans that they couldn't pay back, he paid them back from the oil money that he made in his country. And they made a lot of money from the oil, selling the oil to other countries. But he distributed the wealth to other countries because he wanted them to be independent as well. Because one of my theories is that because he didn't have much success in the Arab League, he wanted to help the other African countries, because if he could help liberate Africa, he could also liberate the Middle East as well, and they could be fully autonomous as a unit together. Like I think that's my theory for why he did that. He's also he was fighting for independence. Like he fought against many assassination attempts and coup attempts, both from inside the country and outside the country, which is why I believe he held on to power for so long, because he wanted Libya to have the same amount of independence that as him as a head of state compared to without one. But I don't believe that he could find a successor that could do the same things he did in his country. He also was an advocate for peace and stability in the country. A which is why he's a really controversial figure, because any attempts at any forms which what he saw as treason, they were immediately pacified, immediately put in jail, or in some cases even worse, because he didn't really trust anybody, because he was fighting so many different wars at once. He was fighting against the media for how he was perceived. He was fighting against. He couldn't even have a really, really strong military because of coup attempts in the country. He was fighting against other forces in government. He was fighting against a lot of different things. All of these things that I listed here, he was fighting against. He's also fighting against unilateral nuclear deterrence. Like they called him they called him like a demagogue for wanting nukes in his country. But Gaddafi knew that if he has nukes in his country, then he wouldn't be invaded. In fact, I believe that if Libya, they did denuclearize. They got rid of they destroyed all the chemical and their nuclear program because of the West. Because after Hussein was assassinated, he believed that would happen to him. So in good faith, he got rid of both the nukes and the chemical weapons. But the reason why he wanted nukes in the first place is countries that have nukes, they rarely ever get invaded. And nukes, they're pretty much a self-assured mutual destruction. That's why you don't see U.S. trying to invade Russia, or Russia trying to invade U.S., or U.S. trying to invade China, because they would all end up fighting. They all end up destroying each other mutually. So that's why Gaddafi wanted nukes, so that he could protect against invasion. But obviously he didn't have the Arab League to speak up about it, because he was on his own, and there were a lot of internal struggles there. He didn't have the support from Africa as well, because he didn't have the support of Africa as well. And although he did a lot for Africa, Africa didn't really do a lot for him in a way, because he had to put everything on his back. Like, that's why he was so suspicious of treason in his country. He had to fight against all these wars in his country. And I believe that he should have been more supported by the other African countries at the time. He also fought against terrorism and separatism, which in the country. Like, he believed that it's not really my faith, and I can't go into great deal about it, because obviously I'm not a Muslim. But he believed that jihadism and terrorism, they're two different things. Like, he believed terrorism was just senseless violence. In fact, the U.S. During the 20th century, they actually worked together with Gaddafi to put down terrorism, to fight against Al Qaeda. And later on, in the 21st century, they called him a dictator. Which is another reason why I'm not calling him a dictator. He's more of a controversial figure. But I don't believe that's the right word to use, because I don't believe a dictator would have a direct democracy and try to put down terrorists and work together with other countries and work in good faith to destroy his nukes and his chemical weapons based on perception. Yeah, and next slide. Gaddafi's role in Pan-Africanism. As I said before, the Arab League, he couldn't really persuade them to unite at all. But he was made chairman of the African Union in 2009. And he was about the same ideals that a lot of our African leaders were about. Freedom of movement, one African currency, and a united continental Africa. In fact, they found, I believe it was over 100 tons of gold reserves in Libya. And he was working on developing a Libyan dinar currency. That is when just everything, basically all hell broke loose. Like, every single story about him was negative outside of Africa. Yeah, and he also wanted African Development Bank in the African Union. And as I said before, he denounced the slave trade in the African Union as well. Yeah. Next slide. Oh, this is one of the things that's really important. A lot of the themes about the war, they weren't really as they seem. It was more complicated. Like it was basically NATO and the U.S. dollar versus Gaddafi's golden dinar. This was the theme of the reason why there was a currency and a militaristic struggle between the U.S. and Libya. Like he was fighting materialism versus sustainability. What do I mean by that? Meaning, whenever the U.S. dollar and whenever the American government needs more money, they can just print it because most of the global trade runs to the U.S. Like the money, in order to have global trade, you have to use the U.S. dollar. But when your currency is backed by gold, you have to protect the gold, and you can't just print to destabilize your currency. So it's more of a sustainability because you can't go into other countries and just invade them, and because you need a lot of money for that. So his country was more isolated in that way. Like he wasn't he wasn't someone that wanted to conquer the rest of the world and do it by himself. He wanted collaboration. He's also fighting like hedonism versus management. Like you have to manage the gold wisely, because if it's just destroyed, if in a war, it's gone forever, and your currency is basically worthless. Against like hedonism, like just printing more money, printing more money. Is over. I believe at the time there were still thousands of U.S. bases, like in different countries, like all around the world, because they could just keep printing the fiat currency. A fiat currency is more backed by the economy and your assets and work. That's why people go to work. They're basically nationalists. Like you're fighting for your country. You're fighting for your country's economic welfare. Like that's pretty much why we go to work in this modern times. And it's fighting like competition versus supremacy. Like for example, like in North Korea at the moment, they have 7 million soldiers that aren't as well trained. They have nukes, but South Korea, they're well trained, but they're well trained fighters, but they don't really have the nukes. But they have to cooperate together, because if they fight against each other, it will likely be mutual destruction. So there are talks like between the two countries of coming together as one country. But when you have like supremacy, like if you have here, if there isn't a struggle, if there isn't like a balance of power between the globe, then you have this instances where any country, any European or the Americans, they can just go into the country and basically destroy whatever government is there. Like Gaddafi really fought against that with the dinar, and that's the real reason why he was assassinated by the rebels that were backed by the U.S. and NATO forces. Like the weapons that were used were from NATO. The military strikes, the airstrikes, the bombardments were made by NATO. The no-fly zone, which sounds a little familiar with what's going on in Ethiopia, but that's a different discussion. It's about Libya today. There was no fly zone. Like the Air Force pretty much was destroyed, and there was intervention that led to his assassination. Versus Gaddafi's loyalist militias. Yeah. Oh, before that. Oh yeah. So pretty much NATO intervention led to his downfall, which is kind of sad because Libya at the moment, they're a war-torn country. They're dealing with issues with like the government, like because of the remnants of I believe it's called the National Transitional Committee, that they were expatriates of Libya, combined with American forces that were instituting democracy, a representative democracy. A representative democracy, you have to spend billions and trillions of dollars to get someone elected. It's very wasteful. It's not really sustainable. Like as I said before, there was already democracy in Libya, but they needed a really strong figure to be able to fight against all the wars that were happening in the country. But yeah, so pretty much NATO, it led to the reason why they invaded was to prevent Gaddafi from liberating Africa. That was the real reason why he was assassinated. And as well as I also want to acknowledge the people that fought against. It was pretty much, it wasn't black and white; it was a gray area, because a lot of people, they said that there were many human rights violations in Libya, like the arbitrary detainment of human rights activists, as well as opposing forces that weren't a part of Gaddafi. So he was a really controversial figure, and that controversialness in his country was what led to them intervening in the country. Yeah, and that's this slide. This is the sources that I use for the website, and these are sources I use for the video. But my last slide was I believe my question was, how do we develop a better relationship with Africa? I believe first we have to clean up our backyards. Like, we're having a lot of social issues, political issues, tribal issues, all kinds of different issues, and it can't be just us saying our leaders have to do something, because right now they're I think we just have to do the small stuff first. What do I mean by that? Like, we shouldn't be waiting to be invited to go somewhere to discuss our problems. Like, we should instead invite ourselves to discuss the problems that we have, because if we come up with solutions together, like as Africans, and we submit the proposal to the leaders, and I know a lot of leaders are really prideful, but we don't really care like if they take credit for it. Like, we just want a better Africa, so we have to clean up the problems between ourselves first. If the growth and the healing of Africa is going really, so we have to clean it up ourselves. Like, we have to be involved. But I'm ways that I believe that we can be involved is, like, next year, obviously during the rainy season again, they're gonna refill the dam in Ethiopia. I believe that we need to protest, like pre-protest, like in Egypt. Like obviously they have desalination projects. Like, the original problem was the water, like for Egypt, right, in North Africa. The original problem was water independence. They wanted their independence, like for water. Like, they didn't want to lose water. They got their independence. The Middle East, they're supporting this. What I mean by desalination, like, you can clean, there's desalination projects in Egypt to clean the water in the country that's dirty. And this is the basics of it, so that they can have extra water in the country. So they already have the projects there in Egypt, so that even if they lose water from the dam, even if they were to lose water, it wouldn't affect them. And the dam is being filled during the rainy season. So I believe that we have to protest that. I believe that we also should expose injustice in North Africa as well. We should, anytime there's injustice, we should protest against it. Like, because of what happened, because of the assassination of Gaddafi, there's been so many things going on in the country. Like, we have some of our African brothers from many different countries that are in slavery again. I believe we have to protest against that. It's happening in Libya. Although I know one of the reasons why the country's so messed up is because of the West. I believe we should still protest it, as well as pray that in the future that they'll be able to have an independent government once again. I believe that we should do that as well. And two last things. I believe that we have to unify the other regions first, because one of the reasons why North Africa is so isolated is because they're accepting they're accepting a new colonization, and they're accepting neo-colonization for weapons, for military weapons. Like, that's the reason why they're accepting it. Yeah, and we must persuade our leaders to have win-win deals with Africa. That's the steps I believe we need to take to have a better relationship with North Africa. Because even if the leaders are still against us, if we keep asking our leaders to have win-win deals with them, eventually the citizens, they'll see that we're not against them. Like we're not trying to replace white supremacy with black supremacy. If that's what I mean. We just want Africa to be liberated. We want to able to make our own decisions and have it be influenced by foreigners. We want to be able to have peace. We want to be able to have stability. We want to be able to defend ourselves. But we should be striving towards that, and we shouldn't be waiting for the leaders to do it themselves. We should be doing it on our own. We should be having discussions on our own, whether it's even online or in person, about the issues that we have in Africa. So that eventually, if we have this if we have a majority of people, like every population, discussing our issues, and leaders take credit for it, who cares if leaders take credit for it? It's better that we start doing this now, because then in the next generation, maybe 10 to 20 years later, these same people that we're not waiting until leaders do something, they'll be the leaders, so they'll be able to move faster, if that makes sense. So that's my perspective, but I'm open to hearing any other perspective, because I have a really limited perspective of North Africa, which is why I mostly stuck with the facts and stuff that I can prove, because it's not about what you know, it's about what you can prove, especially with YouTube censorship these days. But yeah, that's my presentation. Hello, can you hear me?
Here. I mute myself, guys. I mute
Oh,
myself. I want to appreciate you for the well-organized presentation and fact-based presentation.
Yeah, I didn't want any controversy.
Exactly.
in this video.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I honor you for that, because these are information that we put out there and everybody's listening and watching. But you did such an amazing work preparing this and coming out with this initiative. Appreciate you. We need more Africans like you, people who will take initiative and do something. I've seen yesterday someone was teaching here about the problem that comes with pregnancy. That was an amazing thing. It was an amazing lecture. This is someone who is working in the hospital and is dealing with women, so he knows what he's talking about. If you guys haven't seen it, please go and check it out. Today we have our brother here who is very passionate about Africa and very passionate about Northern Africa as well. Like, we want to see a united Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, North Africa. I don't even want to be mentioning Sub-Saharan countries. No, I want to be mentioning Africa, one Africa. And this presentation, it's one of the many examples that our brother here, he brought to show us how can we include how can we be one with our brothers and sisters, by giving us a recap of the history and how all these fights were going on, you know what I'm saying? And as you're listening to this interview, this presentation, then you understand, you realize that, man, like what Professor Ezra he said here very important things, and I just had to to treat them right away, because these are very important points that he mentioned. He said, we Africans owe Libya and Libyans for sustaining the United Africa vision, which they did at great cost to them and their future. That's one thing. And then another thing that he came to add here, we owe Libya and Libyans everything Africa and Africans have to offer as they transition through this difficult time of their country. I say this a lot of times, that I feel responsible to what's happened, in Libya, right? Because most of us were just away. And I say it here, I came here, I say that I feel like African Union betrayed Gaddafi, because he supported a lot, and he was giving a lot of money to the Union support. It was the only country in Africa that gave a lot of money to support, and he had vision for a united Africa. He had a vision for this, but all of us, because of Western propaganda, we began to doubt our own African, and that blood, Gaddafi's blood is crying for Africa, and the best thing we can do right now is to recorrect. I don't know even if we can recorrect that, because not someone, but a lot of people died. But the best thing we can do is actually to do something opposite, is to realize that our brother in Libya are one of us, And when we are talking about one Africa, we are not excluding nobody from that side. We are including them. And today, as you guys are coming and give your points about this presentation, if you have a question or something, the question that will build, not a question that is just a question to find out like how is he going to answer this question. No, like a question that gives an insight, something that will build. And I want us to discuss about how can we, us as an African, sub-Saharan countries and Northern Africa, how can we pull, like, reduce this gap, remove this gap that we have, the gap of culture differences, religion differences? How can we break that down and have about one Africa together with our brothers? So I'm just gonna share the link in the comment section. But I appreciate my brother Pi here, man. This is an amazing initiative, and I love you for that, brother. And thank you so much for preparing this. That was an amazing
no problem. I really like this channel because, as I said before, because we have a lot of people that are from the Caribbean, people that are from diaspora in Africa, on this panel. Like, you can learn so much history in such a short amount of time. I think that's really important, especially in our movement, like One Africa movement. Like, stuff moves a lot faster than here than in other places.
Yeah. So I think wait. Yeah, I was kind of like ordering food. That's amazing. And Pi, I think I can say something. We have a lot of people from Caribbean here. I think it's the time for you guys to come. We have Reeds, we have other guys that I don't remember names, but I think there's a need in the future for you guys to come and to share like everything. Where is the connection between Africa and Caribbean? Because some people, they might be thinking that, oh, you guys are from Jamaica, you guys are from there, you're not this. We need a lesson. We need a session that we can talk about that. Why we are together in this movement. Why we cannot leave our brothers and sisters that are actually not inside here, but they're somewhere there who they feel and they know that we are African. We are in this, in this journey.
I can give a short answer on that one. I believe it's
Okay.
because we all influence each other. Like, for example, Africans, Africa, they were a lot of them were inspired by like the Rastafari movement in the Caribbean. The Caribbean citizens were inspired by Haile Selassie. Americans were inspired by Black Americans were inspired by both, and I'm actually all three technically, because I have different perspectives. Because, for example, like, my parents are from St. Vincent, but I was born in the U.S. But I also want to live in Africa in my 30s. Like, I'm going to get rid of my American citizenship as soon as I launch my own channel and like I'm financially independent. I never want to go back there unless it's to visit family. But yeah, we all inspire each other, so it's hard to say that, oh, we're not we should not be together. Like, that's Western propaganda. Because when I was younger, they always taught us three things, like, that will always antagonize us about history. Like, in school, in American school, they would teach, the only thing that teaches about Africans is that they sold us, and that's it. So what happened to a lot of the kids that are African, when they're in elementary school, they get bullied and they end up resenting Black Americans. And then another propaganda that we hear is that, oh, everyone from the Caribbean, they just smoke. And they don't know the reason why. Rastafarians, they smoke for, I believe it's one of the sacraments. They use it to, they believe it helps them get closer to God in that way. That's why they don't just do it for recreation. Like, you'll see all of these, a lot of stuff that's sold in the U.S. that's, you'll just see it as it's just recreation. And a lot of people, they misrepresent the movement, and they wear the dreads hairstyle without knowing why they're wearing it. Like, it's a form of rebellion against oppression and subjugation. A lot of people, they just wear it and they smoke and not knowing the real reason why they do it. But yeah, we all inspired each other in different ways. So it's hard to just say, oh, we should just be, let's just be separated. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, if our home is Africa, if your home isn't free, you can never be free.
Mm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful, my brother. Thank you so much. But we can definitely need that session, in the near future, to remind ourselves, where we're coming from, and we have a lot of brothers out there. I have another one guest here. Very soon, I'm gonna pull you in. But before that, I want to appreciate for the super chat. I want to appreciate Caleb Page for opening up today with the super chat. Thank you so much. For your donation means a lot, um, so much. I want to appreciate Theo. Theo, I'm working on this. I've already contacted somebody. We have a minister of education, which he would love to do this. I do hope. I already reached out to him as soon as I saw this. So hopefully we're gonna have this very soon. I appreciate for the super chat, and I want to appreciate the brain as well. The brain, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for all that you do, guys. The brain, we have. We are together in this, movement. We are doing this together, and you guys, we have always been doing together for a while, but still, it's taking extra mile to do this. So I want to appreciate you, brother, for always being there, for always being very supportive. Thank you, brother. We have Josie from Welega. Josie, I think it's my first time to see you. Welcome to the show. Hello, Josie. This is definitely, it's a girl right here. Josie, I didn't hear her voice, but I know this name here. Josie.
I'm sorry once. I'm
Goodness.
making some
I want to take it
amendments
back.
here.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I am sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got it wrong. I'm sorry, Josie.
I'm not hearing appropriately. It's not
You cannot hear me? Can you hear me,
I
Josie?
think I think it is the connection problem. I don't know. I'm fixing actually. I'm fixing. Wait,
Uh,
please.
all right. Okay. So guys, for others, I shared the link in the comment section. Please come. And one thing that you can do, you can either, if you have a question about the presentation that Mr. Pai he made, you can do that. If you have any insight you want to add about Libya, we're talking about Libya today. Libya, guys, it's very important. And um yes, I think that is in general. So I shared the link in the comment section. Um, please come. Wow, I think I haven't been here. Please come and raise your voice as well. All right, we have Josie here. Josie, whenever you're ready, we can actually hear you. I don't know if you can hear us, but we can hear you. Yes, Josie. Josie, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I'm not hearing appropriately. I think there is connection problem here. Yes, I'm trying to fix things.
Do you have a question or do you want to just add something? Because we can hear you clearly.
Okay, okay, okay.
Hello?
Hello, hello. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
Josie. You can go ahead and share. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, just I can't clearly hear you. If mine is clear, I will try to share my ideas. Actually, I don't have any question with the explanation of my brother. Yes, I would like to say God bless him. God bless you, my brother, for sharing this memorable document. Really, it is something to be framed and kept forever, so that you'll memorize this one day when one Africa, unity of Africa comes true. That is what I want to say. And actually, it's obvious that our father Gaddafi was assassinated or sacrificed for speaking for human rights, for speaking for rights of equality of human being, human races, not because there are terrorists, he hosted terrorists, not because of that, because A life of Libyans has witnessed after his death that he is a crucial person, he is a determinant person, he is a real father, not only for Libyans, but also for Africans. Today I've been looking everything, things about Libya, about Gaddafi on websites. It's, sometimes you burst into cry when you see things, when you see actual things, the interviews he made, the questions he used to ask, particularly on Pan-African 64th Pan-African IT, the speech he made is uh, just irritating. He has asked different questions about the pseudo democracy experiencing in the Western world, in the imperialists. Actually, they make uh, pseudo democracy uh, from their action, and so even he has raised one question which made me amazed about assassination of the Iraqi president. Why the killers made mask on their face? He said, you know, making their bully style, bully habit on growing developing countries actually. And so I appreciate Gaddafi. I do believe Gaddafi has not died, and what I want to say, he is still alive in the heart of his beloved African children's hearts. And as you said, for one of the presidents of Tanzania, it's better to die as a king than living as a cowardice. That is what I want to say to Gaddafi and his uh, lovers. Thank you very much for the time being. It's enough for me.
Thank you so much, Josie. I just heard that you have been here for a while. Appreciate you for your voice and for what you said. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Die as a king than to die as a coward, right? All right, guys. Well, we have a link in the comment section. If you want to come and raise your voice, please do. But for the time being, let me talk to Pai. Um, I think we should emphasize a little bit more in how can we develop a better relationship with North Africa,
Mm.
because we definitely don't have that right now, right? But I think one of the things that you said here, uh, that we must persuade our leaders to seek win-win deals with North Africa. I think this is something very important that can help us to to bring our closeness, together. I
Mm.
one day I shared here the what my president, late president, did right with his regime to collaborate with Morocco. We had a Morocco king coming here, Tanzania. We had Egyptian king as well to come here because basically President Magufuli, he asked the Moroccan king to build a mosque here in Dar es Salaam, one of the biggest mosques in the in the country. So in that way, you can see that the relationship between Tanzania and these two different countries in the Northern Africa, it's stronger, actually stronger because of those projects that we're doing together. He had a choice either to go outside to collaborate with other countries there, or to collaborate with African countries that they have that technology, and he chose to do that with African countries, and in a way, we have a strong relationship. So I think that is something that we can all learn in Africa and start cooperating and give each other deal, right? If
Yeah, because they want us. We don't want to fight with them. They want us to fight with. We do not want to fight with North Africa.
exactly, yeah.
So we've had
But I want to
enough
bring everybody to the
bloodshed
table.
on the continent.
Yes, yes. Well, I have my the brain. The brain is here, my brother. It's good to see you.
Good to see you guys too. Thank you, Pai, for the incredible presentation. By the way, the other day we had a conversation. Mika, Israel was the one who was conducting it, and we had Yosef. Actually, Israel knows him as Josie as well. That's another name for Yosef. Oh, but in the English name of Yosef is Joseph, so it's basically that. So we had Yosef. He was talking about how excited he was for today's event, and I hope that his excitement was fulfilled by the presentation of Pai. I think Pai did an incredible, a comprehensive coverage of Libya and the Libya case, and then of course Gaddafi was there. It's true. So I just want to acknowledge those people who have done an incredible job in the background, and Pai particularly taking the ownership of this and taking us to where we need to go in terms of being informed and educated about our brothers and sisters in Libya. And I think and thank you also, Mika, for tweeting about my verbatims on Twitter, and then also talking about it here. But I think there's a lot of things. There's a lot of misgiving about Gaddafi, whether his Africa agenda was genuine or not. These are all sort of misgivings that are out there. I want to mention them. But to me, sometimes, I think, Mika, you say sometimes, it doesn't matter whether the person who is doing it has the intention of, taking advantage of the need for one Africa or not. As long as they are pursuing the goal, you are with them. And I'm that kind of person. They are always misgiving about leaders. We always have misgiving about leaders, the intention. We can say so much things about them, but the one thing that you cannot say about them, like what they did, the action they took. Gaddafi was paying, countries that were not able to pay their dues for African Union membership. He was financing a lot of African, particularly smaller African countries who were not having the resources to pay their membership fees for being a member of the African Union. This is action. Okay, whatever somebody can interpret his intention or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is the actions of the person. The actions of Gaddafi in the 40 or so years he evolved from nationalist to pan-Arabist to eventually to a Pan-Africanist. He died African. He died as an African, as a Pan-Africanist. So that evolution is what we want in our leaders. Our leaders are not going to be made perfect from some kind of factory. They're not produced in some kind of factory where they are ready when you open the package. It's not like your phone. You buy your phone, you open the package, and then it's ready made. They are made through the process of leadership. They grow into it, and we want our leaders to grow into this. So Gaddafi is a great example of that. Libya is a great example. Their social service provision was world class. They had world class social provision that other countries should use as an example or as a template for their own country. So it's important that we recognize all of these great actions, great results that were attained as a result of the work of Gaddafi and of course the people of Libya. And today Libya is in peril, it's in conflict with itself and with others. So it's important for Africans to take a moment and take notice of the challenge that Libya is facing and provide whatever support we can. If you cannot provide financial support, but do whatever you can. If you cannot provide, if you are not a politician, if you are an ordinary citizen of Africa, you have a voice. You have platforms like this or other platforms out there that will be the basis of your support, the kind of support that you should do. So you should voice your support. Today is the independence. You should congratulate Libya for the independence. Pray for Libya so that they can find a way to rediscover their mojo and then get back to the right track of being a great country and a great member of Africa, and then support Libya's recovery so that they continue to be the pillar of the United Africa vision that we all share together. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you so much for again, Pi, and thank you so much, Mika, for being, for having the foresight, to think about, Libya's independence is coming up on the 24th of December, and I'm gonna be a voice on that. And then Yossi, thank you always for your continued support, very invaluable support. The other day you did a very incredible job helping Isra and me in our presentation of humanity before ethnicity parts topic. So thank you so much for that as well. And thank you for always continuing to be there for us too. Thank you.
Appreciate the brain. Appreciate so much. Jonathan, he raised he raised something here that we have been talking about this for a while. I've faced the same issue as well. I face the same issue, and this is something that is out there, and a lot of people sometimes are asking out themselves that, why should we care about them while they're not caring about us? Well, we have people who say that. But taking an example of Gaddafi himself, again, he was not a perfect leader. Is you raise here another really good question, Yenatan, about we should always, question about, a rule of one person of a country, something like that. So it's something good, to question about, right? And I don't know how their constitution is, or in different countries, like what kind of constitution they do have. Some countries they do have. I always like to say that we Africans should have our own type of democracy, right? If you are in a country whereby people are willing to give more time to their leaders to stay there, if it's 20 years, if it's 30 years, they're willing to do that. They're willing to do that. For me, I don't see a problem because the government is about people. And if people, they're willing to put their leader there for that long because they see what they're doing. For instance, you can take a look at Kagame, what he's doing with the country, and you can talk to people, you can ask them, I don't know what's going on behind the scene, but that's what we see, right? And when you see that and you see things are moving, things are going forward, right? At least it's the picture that we see. Then you know that, no, this is the working, government. Because you will see other governments in Africa that are still there in the leadership, and you can tell that, they're there not because of work, but they're there because of money, because they want to continue to take money. You don't see any work happening. I think those kind of leadership we really need to question, and we really need to find the way through. But there are other leadership that you see that's one of the things that we always face in Africa. If you find a good leader doing an amazing thing, then there's always a problem of staying on the regime for a long time. But then again, you don't really know how the democracy work in their country. Is that the way that they want to run things? Is that the way that they want to run their government and things like that? So it's going to be really hard to interfere that. But definitely this is something that I think if we had a strong African Union, is something that African Union is supposed to keep them in check, right? To make sure that every single police and the system in different countries, how they run, how they organize, that's something that they can deal with them, right? They can deal in that capacity. But again, we're talking about something that is not really working that much. So in that's what I would say. But we have our brother here, Ridge, coming here. My brother, welcome back.
I'm here once again. Good to see you guys, man. Working hard. We always working.
The islands are well represented today.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. Always, man. You guys know we are all one. Always.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, Mika, what you said just now is so true. because I always thought about that myself. I used to ask myself, what do these people call democracy? Switching a corrupt leader every 4 years? That's not a democracy. If the person coming is still corrupt, like what do you need them for? You don't need them for nothing if they're corrupt, right? But if you're living in a place like Libya when Gaddafi was ruling, everyone knew that he wasn't a good leader. I mean, not a good leader, but the perfect leader. Nobody has a perfect leader, but he was a good leader. Because when you got married in Libya when Gaddafi was ruling, you got a house and a car free.
Yeah.
Gas was like a couple cents per liter or per gallon.
Yeah.
You know
like
what
50,
I mean?
I know.
Something that everyone could afford. So when you have a leader like that, it's not coincidence that that person is going to be there for a long time, because people going to keep electing that leader if they're getting their needs met. And that's what I was saying in the chat the other day. I was like, no one cares if the leader gets switched every 4 years. What people care about is getting their needs met.
Yeah, that's true.
If you get your needs met, then you don't have to switch leader constantly.
That's true.
It's like if you have a mother, if you have a mother who don't give you your needs, you understand? She treats you bad, she don't give you your needs, and you end up in the children's home, and then you get adopted, right, by another mother. But if your mother is doing what mother is supposed to do, then why would you need to get in a children's home and be adopted by another mother? You don't need that, because your mother is treating you right. I believe that we as Africans, we should look at our leadership in this way. But Gaddafi, I will encourage all you guys to get the Green Book, because Gaddafi talked about the problem of democracy in the Green Book, and what he was saying is that even if every 4 years somebody elect a new leader, let's say 70% of the people elect a new leader, and they win that election. Gaddafi's argument was that there's still 30% of people that didn't choose you. You know what I mean? They didn't choose you to be their leader, so they might be dissatisfied. So Gaddafi's solution to that now was that he thought that in a system of governance, the people must have direct access to the power that is being consolidated in the government, and not through senators and all these different representatives. He thought that these people who are senators and different representatives was cutting the contact between the normal person and the power of the government. But it's so much to read in that book. There's so much to read in that book, Virgin. It's not it's a small book, but it's not a one-time read, because there's so much information in that small book that he's talking about democracy and the problem of democracy and all those things. I heard the guy who was doing the slides, he said something that was very important too. He said that all African countries in West, East, and South Africa should unite first, and then in order to help North Africa. I think that's a good idea, because most of the confusion that is coming from Europe into Africa is coming in from North Africa, because they're treating North Africa as if it's their southern border. The French is in the Sahel and in Mali and those places, right? You have Morocco over there making deals with Israel now, and try to disrupt the connection between Morocco and Algeria, and all of these things as well. So I will encourage you guys also, as I say, man, get the Green Book, man, because I've read it and I haven't finished it yet. I've passed more than half of it though, but it's so much information, man. It's so much information.
Coming down.
It's so much information in there about what Gaddafi thought was a good democracy and what his future plans were for Africa. They killed him because they knew that if he had united Africa under one military, under one currency, the Western world would be obsolete, because they're still practicing the doctrine of unequal exchange with Africans. This is why you can see in movies, they have certain movies I listen to or I watch, and in these movies they tell you straight up, this is Africa, we can do whatever we want here. This is what the Europeans and the Americans saying in these movies. Just think about that.
Mm.
Like, just think about that. They put it in a movie that we can do whatever we want in Africa. Then what they think that their youths are gonna grow up to do when they join the military and they get deployed to Central Africa or to North Africa? They're gonna go there and do whatever they want because they already seen it in the movies that they could do whatever they want when they go to Africa. Gaddafi stood up against this type of things. That's my 2 cents for you guys today.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I'm so
Okay.
glad to see you guys every day working, man. I think that, as I said, the guy who did this slide, I think what he should do, what we should do, actually, we should do what he says, right? But we should do it in media. We should all unite in all the regions of Africa, because now the diaspora is a region of Africa now, eh? The diaspora is a 6th region. It was written in the Constitution of the African Union. Do you guys know that?
Mm-hmm.
So Africa has
I actually
5
didn't
regions
know
on the continent. Oh, yeah. Africa has 5 regions on the continent, and then they added the diaspora as a 6th region in the African Union, in the Constitution. And I think that we all should get together. And even if it's just through media, you know what I mean? Because media is powerful, like what you're doing, brother. Even if it's just through media, we all should unite all over Africa in the media and push a certain image, so that by time the pressure reaches towards Europe, they will know they only have one option: is either they leave us alone or they face the consequences. They suffer the consequences. That's it. But you guys keep going, man. Keep going. I'm here. Keep your energy up. Energy.
Appreciate for being there, man. I see you here all the time, so appreciate you, man. I appreciate.
I'm always working. When you don't see me, I'm still working. You know what I'm working on.
Yeah, I know, and I'm still
All right,
waiting. I'm still waiting for Yeah.
By the way, you said you sent me a message, but I never got any message.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but you could send me afterwards anyway.
I'll check it out again. I'll check it out.
All right, see you guys, man. And I'll be here listening.
Appreciate, Rage. Appreciate. I think Rage raised really important point, which I have an example of. Again, I'll talk about our previous president, RIP. People in the streets and everybody, this is what they were saying. They're like, hey, we want this man to overstay in the office. Because you see someone the first year, second year, third year, fifth year, doing amazing things, incredible things that have not been done in 60 years. Somebody has done in 5 years. Even me, man, I was like, man, come on. If there's a way to extend his term to stay here, not just for 10 years, but to stay here for 15 years, to finish all this vision he had, because the problem is we had people who they're always having a vision just for the party, right? And they do some stuff, and then so you go like that for a long time, and then you're not making any progress. You have someone coming 5 years making progress that has never been done in 60 years. What do you expect? And when we as people want to keep that person there, because again, I've seen the point of raising the next leaders. That's something that every country, every place should have the system, right? And even all these political parties that are leading the countries, they have that system that they prepare someone that will come next. As you're having a president right now, they will always have all these things. They're preparing someone that will come later on next, right? So you have someone like that who does things like that. And in the past, you had so many leaders who did nothing. And then you have someone who is doing like that for that short period of time. I'm telling you. Rich, he says something very well, that people, they desire and they want to see change. They want to see progress. They want to see things are moving on. And when you have someone in the leadership who is actually doing that, a lot of time we have this, this, how can I say, it's like intuition, not intuition really, feeling that, man, when are we going to get a good leader like this? When are we going to get someone who is this much? He's working to this extent. And in fact, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how leadership is supposed to be. But these days, when we have someone in Africa doing something amazing, we feel like, man, this is amazing. This is incredible. But this is how it's supposed to be. As a leader, you have to work for your people. You have to bring in development because you're using people's You're not using your own money. That's how it's supposed to be. But
I think it should be sorry for interjecting. I think it should be a balance, though. I think you should be able to have a really good democratic leader for however long, as long as it's not a coup like Tunai just said. But I also
Yeah.
think that there should be more youth involved in the political process, like how it was in Libya. Because how are you going to have a really good successor if you don't have young people at a young age learning how the system works for the government in order to improve their government? But yeah, sorry for interjecting.
Yeah, you cut me
Can
out.
I say something before Niger comes in? Can I say
No, I
something
have
before Niger comes in?
mention
I
it.
know. Yeah. I wanted to the consequence of ending the Libya under Gaddafi has been felt across the Sahel and part of West Africa very heavily, from Central African Republic all the way to Mali, the borders of Nigeria, and part of other part of West Africa. That insecurity that has been generated. There's some people link it up to the insecurity we've managed to create by taking Gaddafi out of the equation. So I would love, because I know he cares so much about the security component of it, which I'm increasingly more and more finding myself aligned with Niger on that. So I would love his wisdom and thoughts on that. Explain on that. And thank you, Rich. And I've actually received an email from Rich. I can't divulge what was communicated in the email, but yeah, Rich, thank you so much for that. And I just want to be prepared and ready, and then in alignment with my own sense of where I want to go before I can actually ask you to support me in what I do, and then before I can say I can support what you do. But for now, thank you so much.
Right. Okay. Appreciate, guys. Let me try to finish my point again. You cut me in the middle, and I was not able to finish my point.
Sorry.
Yeah. So let's finish first. What I was trying to say, I'm losing my energy. What I was trying to say is,
Oh,
it should be
sorry,
normal.
Micah. Sorry, Micah.
No worries. Pi is the one who started that. You just came along later on. But what I'm trying to say is, it's supposed to be normal to have leaders who are working hard for the government and for their countries, like leaders who they actually bring change, because that's the reason why we are electing leaders. We want to see changes happening in our governments, right? But the thing is, in Africa, we have very few leaders like that, in a way that if we get one, we want them to stay there for life, because we see what they're doing and we want them to stay there as long as they can transform. But I'm not saying that that is the right way to go. What I'm saying is, we need to have leaders who actually work for people and actually bring about change in the places, because they're using people's tax things, money that I am giving, money that you are giving every single month. So the only thing they need to do is accountability. They need to cut down corruption and make sure to use that money, accordingly to the work that has been assigned to. But you have people who always, take away and put back. And this is the only point I'm saying is because of those leaders who they're actually staying that long. But Mr. Niger, he pointed out something very important, and I'm going to bring him to talk about this in a way that we need to have something that can keep them accountable, that if you're staying there for 10 years, if that is your time, 5 years, then that's your term. If you're going to be reelected again for 5 years, you finish 10 years, whether you're doing something good or you're doing that, your time, it should be like that. But we have cases like that in Africa. A lot of coming and they and more. But you can do like what Mandela did, or you can do like what Nyerere did. After they were finishing their regime, they were asked to stay there, but they were like, no, we're going to let other people continue to do that. But you don't have everybody like that. Some leaders, they're not going to say that because they already like being in the position that they are. But I think that is something that if we have in a way like strong African Union, something that can watch over African countries, somewhere where you need to report and you need to be held accountable with what you're done. My brother, your time is done. You extending your long term, this is going to lead to civil wars. Not everybody's going to be happy because of that. So definitely we can stop a lot of things happening like that by having accountable, supervisors, I guess. To Niger, what do you want to share, brother? It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. Thanks for having me today, and greetings to members of the panel and the chat room there. Yeah, I sympathize with your point of view, because we know we have one in a 10 leaders that are doing what the people really want them to do, and whenever they come along, you want them to stay as long as possible. I was of that school. But what I also observed is that if you look at Africa, the diversity that you have in Africa, and the system itself, if you have leaders that come into office and say, okay, because that guy is allowed to stay on, why shouldn't I be allowed to stay on? And what will happen is that when they get into office, because of the privileges that come with being in office, they can alter the system. In other words, gain an unfair advantage over their opposition to extend their term in office. Now they don't have to do anything for the people. They will just use the power of their office to extend their term in office, which is tantamount to a coup. That is what military people do. They use their own advantage of having military to take over the country. It's tantamount to a coup. So you have to be careful. And what that leads to is say one tribe is ruling the country and the guy refused to go. Maybe he was popular at first, then he was not popular again. They want him out, but he keeps extending it because he feels like he has the power and his cronies are all over the place. It can corrupt the system quite quickly. And this is this is why I say when the leaders are in office, they should be prevented from doing that. If they leave office, they can go and campaign for it, then return back to office. But while you are in office, you can't use the levers of power that you're controlling to alter the constitution, because it leads to problems. I think the Guinea one, if I'm not mistaken, this is part of the problem in Guinea too, because the president wanted to extend his term in office. Before you know it, they got a military coup. You see what I mean? So that people should be careful when that's leader. They should be careful, and I think African Union they should take that into account, because they seem to take into account military coups, but they don't take into account what democratic leaders do too. Because when they get into office, they use their office to want to extend their time in office. And I think that is a form of coup, and it should be treated like that, because you can't use the office to alter the constitution to favor yourself. You can't do that. If you do that, you're going to corrupt the system, and before you know it, instability. And because Africa is so diverse, you can see where that can lead to very, very quickly. And this is why I think I like the idea of when you are a good leader. I think a good leader, if they are good, they go away, they can always come back again, and they can go and run campaigns, and they will return back to office. I've seen them like Jerry Rawlings of Ghana. When he first took over Ghana, he took over power, ran the country for a short period of time, left. Then he saw that they were still misbehaving again, and he came back later on to take over the country. And Putin left. He wasn't the leader of Russia for quite a while. He left office. He could have just altered the constitution and just carried on.
Yeah,
he had the power to do that. He could have done that, but he didn't do that because he knew if some other person gets there, they too want to do the same thing. So I think we should keep that in mind when I know the attraction of wanting to keep leaders, good leaders that you have, but we also want to worry about the corruption it's going to lead to on the other side, and the ethnic strife, because Africa is very diverse. That ethnic strife is one thing you have to watch out for.
Can I?
Najib, can you also address the part I was asking? It's important. I know you have because I want people to understand your point of view on the issue of security. I understand you, but a lot of people don't. People think there's a waste of money when we focus on security elements of the work that we do, and the collapse of Libya and its impact on the Sahel, particularly on the Sahel, but beyond that also, including even Nigeria, as far as Nigeria is part of the consequence of that. So I would love from Central African Republic all the way to Mali. There's a lot of problems related to what happened in Libya. And so, like, like tied to the security component that you always communicate with us. And it'd be good. It'd be good if you can cover that.
Yeah, I think the attack on Libya, sorry to say, it wasn't even about Libya really. It was more about sub-Saharan Africa. That they were the real targets really. Because if you look at what is happening with Kenya and all the other countries where they are having problem with some of these destabilizing elements, it comes from the east. But the northern part of Africa seems to be quite tough. Algeria has managed to fight off all the extremists and stuff like that. But Libya was, strong there. So they took Libya out because think about it. Libya was not exactly their enemy when they did this stuff to Libya. Libya was their friend. Tony Blair was in Libya a year before this. They took him out. They took Gaddafi out. They wanted to destabilize sub-Saharan Africa. This is what is exactly happening right now. The Sahel has been destabilized heavily, and they've used that excuse to move their people into most of the countries. They're saying that they're coming to help them with insurgents that never seem to go away. I don't know where insurgents get their weapons. So all those things, they did it to keep Africa the way it is, make it unstable. And it's not about money. They are not okay. It's about money in the end because they want to, keep their own advantage there. So that I just feel like if that area is plugged or Libya gets its act back together, you can see how the Sahel will be a lot more stable. I heard a Nigerian military official on YouTube. She was on YouTube. Top Nigerian military official saying that in Niger Republic, that military officials have so many guns that they sleep with them under their bed, that they don't even have places to catch the guns, where they can put the guns safely, store the guns safely, that whenever they need money, they can just go and sell the guns. That this is why the whole Sahel is unsafe, because that Libyan country that collapsed with so much ammunition just spread all over the place, and is keeping the West African sub-region unstable because of it. So it's a blow on us, and Nigeria has been toiling with this since then.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I wanna bring in my brother Beraket. Is here as well. Beraket, you can raise your voice as well. Talking about how can we develop a better relationship with North Africa, but as well, if you have anything to add to the presentation of today and Libya in general. Today is Libya's Independence Day. You can go ahead. You can unmute yourself and speak. You're muted. All right.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, I came and I was listening to. No, I was actually interested in the discussion about the length of the leadership, because I think this is quite arbitrary to quite difficult to say how long a leader should lead. To be honest, I think it's a matter of cost and how well the infrastructure is put together yet. And yeah, so I thought that I thought you cannot say to judge a country how long a leader should stay. I think you should really look into how the coups are established, for example. Where do these mercenaries come from, etc. That was something I want. In my opinion, it's I don't think there's much different. An elective monarchy or I think it's hard to say what works best for a country. So. But when it comes to establishing good relationship with North Africa, I think it's good if, I think in Libya, the North African countries, they don't have a good food security. I think so. I think they are not that self-sustainable. So if something happens with the economy, then it can
You think?
have a big impact. That's what I think. Yeah, but if
Can you
anybody
clarify that? Anybody
Can I
knows
say a
that?
little bit?
All right.
Yeah, can I say that a little bit on that? Yeah, on
Sure,
that
sure.
as well as I think the leadership formula. That I think I'm more leaning towards Niger's point of view on the challenge of extending your your run on. I wouldn't say leadership, but I would say if you extend your leadership, then that means leadership is not necessary. But if you extend your rule without leadership, that's where you struggle. That's where, there are times when leaders stop being leaders and they become rulers, and that's when they have lost their relevance
yeah, but
to their country or the community or they're running, and then as well as in the broader continent. So we need to distinguish between, leaders are the characteristics of leadership means that you have a degree of acceptance and the degree to which you are needed in that space and that time in that time and that space, and that's why you become a leader of that. So sometimes for 10 years, sometimes for 5 years. I would give example of Roosevelt. Roosevelt was probably the only person in America that has run 4 times, won 4 times. Okay, he died after winning his 4th term, 1945, I think. So there are cases and examples where sometimes leadership is required for an extended period of time. I can give example of Malaysia post the independence. The leadership that was there for 20 years was very critical in that inflection point in Malaysia's independence. Interestingly, Malaysia and Ghana got their independence. I think it was six months difference from the same colony, from the same colonial power, Britain, and they had almost similar economic system. Theirs was depending on rubber. Ghana was depending on cocoa and gold. And then you could see, they curtailed the leadership of Kwame Nkrumah. But, with 10 years, I think that's when Kwame Nkrumah ran Ghana. And the Malaysian leaders stayed even longer. So that moment of sometimes they are needed, some leadership is required for an extended period of time, as long as they are leaders by the definition of leaders, not leaders of in nominal terms, but leaders in its meaning. But when they become rulers for an extended period of time, so rulers tend to be administrating your interests they've accumulated. They are administrating, so rulers administer interests they have accumulated over the course of their rule, and they use the politics and the means to sustain that, and they use their position to shore up their these things. And I think the case of Guinea is an example of that, where you had that kind of problem. So that said, Gaddafi, has provided a lot of leadership qualities over the course of his 40 years, but there were also a moment where he has made bad choices. His judgments were questionable. But, despite those questionable moments, overall, he can be judged as a great leader that Libya had. But in due course, in due time, we'll find a way to appreciate him. But on the issue of the North Africa and food insecurity, you look at Egypt. Egypt is so dependent for their food security, okay? Not just the food security of Egypt, the food security of Israel, the food security of Saudi Arabia comes from Egypt. So if Egypt is more secure food-wise, then Israel is more secure food-wise. And so is Saudi Arabia, because Egypt is the main provider of food product it produces in its territory, in its small, tiny, arable land that it has. It provides the food security Saudi Arabia needs. It also provides, by the way, people don't know this, Israel gets the Nile. The Nile River doesn't just end up in the Mediterranean. There are canals that have been built between Israel and Egypt, where the Nile River is also diverted to Israel, where Israel uses that to produce the food they need. And then you go to Libya. These are arable deserts, most of them. And you go to Tunisia, you go to Algeria. All of these countries are struggling because water is an issue that they don't have. And then without water, you can't grow food sustainably and feed your country and then provide food security. And so one of the things that Africa needs to do is to provide a means by which the North Africans can find their security, be it food or any other things, from the rest of Africa, instead of having to knock the doors of Brussels and Washington. We want Egypt to knock the doors of Addis Ababa, Abuja, and Pretoria. We want them to come to us, to look within for their security, the security they need. Be it food security, water security, all of that can be achieved within the framework and the context of Africa. And Africans have to do a lot of work trying to communicate to them. Algeria, but particularly, Algeria is more aligned with Africa than any other country, by the way. I don't know if people know this, but Algeria is sees itself more closer to Africa because of its very difficult struggle to attain independence and the kind of support, political and otherwise, support it received from the rest of Africa in its fight for independence in the 1960s. Morocco has also become part of the fold of the African Union recently. And so it's beginning to see, so Morocco is currently has signed a $6 billion deal with Ethiopia to build a fertilizer factory in Ethiopia. I don't know if that's going to come to fruition, but it's a great development because Moroccans are seeing, okay, we can be part of, the Africa growth, the Africa transformation. So there's a little bit of, so I don't know if I've covered the answer, the question as much as I can have covered it. Sorry, if I'm out of breath, I'm in the middle of my exercise, daily exercise. And
no worries.
So thank you.
No worries. I really appreciate your insights.
Can I say something?
I'll have you, Bereket, and then I'll have Niger, and then I'll finish up with Pai. You can go ahead, Bereket.
So I think it's hard to say when it comes to elections because, to be honest, even in European countries, it's where I live. The question comes where who should be voting, what is the age limit, etc. Because many people vote, but they're not really well informed in the parties they should vote on. And when it comes to Africa, you don't have that infrastructure yet, and the infrastructure for people to come to vote, and the infrastructure, the knowledge for people voting on for which party to vote on. So I think it's questionable. And when it comes to Gaddafi's case, I don't think it's really it's questionable. Why should a leader die when there's protest? I think if that is something of the imperialistic incentive that a person have to die. I don't think that's that should ever happen. That if a leader, if you don't like that he stays for too long, and he should be put out, but not by means of death. So I think also I think many African citizens should also be aware of the anti stigmatization of African countries and the capacity of leaders. I mean, you can also be critical on European countries and their leaders. So it's I think the most criticized continent, that's Africa. So if anyone that deserves to be criticized, it should be a Western a European nation in their government, because there's a lot of where I live in the Netherlands, there's also a lot of racism and constitutional racism, and to tackle that, that's you're just a minority, and your voice is not really that doesn't matter. So yeah, I think when it comes to food distribution, yeah, it's a challenge but I think the main thing is the basics. The basic things have to be there for the African nations. Provide food, drinking water, etc. Keep people healthy. If they can be healthy, you can empower their critical thinking, and you can think about establishing real networks from the Sahel to Algeria, whatever. If that's the idea in the future, that's what I wanted to put out.
Right. Appreciate Bereket. To Niger, what are your final thoughts, brother?
Yeah, yeah. I think you can see that a lot of people are wrestling with the idea of how long leaders should stay in office. You see, the challenge Africa has always faced which is one of the biggest weakness we had before, not the biggest, of course, was transfer of power. The way leaders transfer power those days, when you read about it, about the Songhai Empire or the Mali Empire, it's like it's a recipe for anarchy, and it can make a big difference in the nation's life. If a leader dies, how quickly they move on to the next one and be able to carry on the progress that they are making. If they spend 10 years or 2 years fighting each other, you can see how that can lead to problems for the country, because then the remaining time of the leader that eventually gets into power will be fixing the damage they've already done. So you see why it slows us down. And this is why when we are in the modern times and we want to start operating in a democratic system, we also have to protect it from our own democratic leaders too. Because I've seen that this is a problem, that they tend to want to do that. Because if you can't, everybody knows the law of the streets now. If you are involved in a gambling game, you can't just halfway during the game just change the rules. If you change the rules, the people that are starting there will be like, oh, that's not fair. You are you are the one leading now. You are just changing the rules. That's not how it's supposed to be. So step out of office. If you want to campaign, if you truly believe that extending the term of office is important, or they shouldn't have a cap on the number of terms, campaign for it. If people believe in that idea, they will vote for it, or they will approve a constitutional amendment that will allow that to happen. But if you use your position of power to do that, it's a coup. People should not make any mistake about that. It's a coup. I understand when people say, what if the leader was popular? It should be approved. Yeah, it should be approved. It should be good once, but when the next person comes, you are going to find that they are going to use it for something very terrible. And then you have that instability again start happening within the system. And before you know, you see this, I start pointing finger. Bamileke will be pointing finger at the other one. Fulani will be pointing finger at the Igbo man. Nobody needs that. So African Union should keep an eye on that, because this idea where they just keep going after only military coups, I think is a mistake. They should also keep an eye on their own democratic counterparts that are altering constitutions to remain in office. The Haiti president, one of the reasons why he became so unpopular, because they feared that he wanted to alter the constitution to allow him to stay in office further. If you don't leave office as a democratic leader, because remember, one of the reasons why people don't kill each other when you go campaigning in a democratic system, because they feel that maybe their turn is going to come. If you start taking that away from them, you are creating an atmosphere of instability. They will start thinking that you don't want to leave, so they will start resorting to more aggressive ways of doing things. This is why we have to watch out for that. And I think we as young, I wouldn't call myself young, you guys are young, but you should keep an eye on that, because you guys should keep an eye on that, because
you're young in the spirit.
Yeah. So you should keep an eye on that, because when this in Africa starts progressing, and we can operate a far more advanced democratic system. We don't have to cut out to what the Western people do. They are not the standard. We have to aspire for something better, something that is very organic, that allows people to have their say, and that doesn't create corruption at the top. We can create our own. There is no reason why we can't create our own unique, even more democratic system of this in government that is extremely stable, and we have to have stability in mind, because when you have stability in nations, they grow, they get stronger and stronger. Nothing drags them back.
All right.
So,
yeah,
thanks.
definitely. Thank you, Nigel. I think that's this topic we need to come back another time to talk about that, about this. How long should leaders stay in Africa, and if there's anything that we as One Africa can do to to push that. Yeah, I think we need a 2 hours, 3 hours to talk about that, just that alone, because I believe a lot of people have an idea on this.
I've been saying Jonathan should come over and have a day. He's a political science PhD candidate, I think. So he should come and offer us a kind of a contextually sound kind of presentation on that.
All right. Yeah, Jonathan, you know our email. Please, let's and I think I have your number too, so we can talk about that if it's something that you are interested in doing. Yeah. Pai, you have a final say, and then I will be getting out of here. Anything you wanna raise up as the final thoughts about the presentation and what you shared about today?
Sorry,
Are
I
you
was
there?
muted.
Hi?
I think one of the most important parts of the presentation is that we should really learn how the government, the citizens, and Gaddafi work together to help with the reform, and how it happens so quickly. Because it's really my belief that if the young people, they think that their voice matters in Africa, they think their voice matters, you won't see this such, because we have a lot of low turnout in different countries for young people. But if they think that their voice matters, that they can change the system for the better, that'll lead to more leaders. Then we wouldn't need to have the issue of success and power, because we would have more candidates available. But that's my perspective. I don't think there's enough young people involved because they don't think that what they do will bring about change. But yeah.
Appreciate, Pai. Appreciate. Yes. Thank you guys for coming today. Before I raise up a prayer, this closing session, but I wanna wish everybody there, a Merry Christmas. For us here, couple minutes later, like 45 minutes, we'll be celebrating Christmas already. It will be already Christmas. It's a time that we stay with family and friends. And just remember, and I like how Jonathan said in the comment section that Merry Christmas to everybody, and I hope we'll spend this time to pray and to remember, because Christmas is not just about the carols and all these Christmas trees we see. It's about the birth of Jesus Christ, right? For those Christians, we believe that. So I hope in this Christmas we will be praying for our brothers and sisters in Africa who are going through difficulties, because some of them, they don't have a chance to celebrate this, or even to spend time with their family because of what's going on. We can remember them in our prayer, and as we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, then we can pray that will be a hope to a lot of people out there, and having that love and peace and unity for our beautiful continent of Africa. Yeah, so I hope you guys are gonna have an amazing day. Myself, I will try to sleep early today, so that tomorrow I may go somewhere, maybe in the church, and to celebrate with my friends. And for those who are going to a church too as well, I hope you guys are gonna have a nice day tomorrow, and you're gonna have a nice celebration. Guys, I really thank you for stopping here today. I love you guys, and thank you for your voices.
Hey, Mika,
Yes.
just want to make a point that you get to celebrate 2 Christmas this year.
Of course. Yeah, January 7th as well is Ethiopian Christmas. So I'll be there to celebrate with you as well. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. It's a blessing that we get to celebrate twice. Yeah, here and in Ethiopia as well. Yeah, guys, I appreciate. Thank you, Pai, again for your presentation today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
May
no
God
problem.
bless.
I'll be more in the background more lately now though, because I wanted to do the session summary so you guys can have them when you meet in person next month.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Appreciate. And for Jonathan, I texted you. Please reply to my message as well. I'll feel good about it. Appreciate, guys. I would have sent my message. Yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Waiting for your prayer.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Yeah. Let me pray. God, I thank you for today. Thank you for this session, and for Libya, most importantly. I've even seen the news that election has been postponed as well. It's not gonna happen this 2 days, but we know that you're in control in that nation, and everything that is going on, God, you know what's going on. So we're crying to you for that nation, for those people, that may peace of God, the love of God, embrace them every single moment, every single day. Most importantly, for all of our brothers and sisters around the continent of Africa, remember them too, God. We want your peace, your shalom to be with everybody, God, in this continent. And my people here, I pray for the safety, and I pray that, God, you'll be with each and every single one of us, even in this movement, in this move that we have right now. Help us, God, to continue to listen to you and to continue to fight for our brothers and sisters in Africa. Fight for those who don't have voice, and to never lose a sight of what we are standing for. Always never lose a sight of what we are wanting to see in Africa. I thank you. I bless you. I give you glory and honor. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Hey, Mika, have a
Yes.
wonderful, wonderful Christmas. Uh,
Appreciate it.
as always, thank you for taking up this issue, and so we appreciate you for that. Yeah, thank you, thank you, everyone. Thank you, One African family. We have a lot of supporters today. Elias has been a very great supporter of that
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ezra. Thank you so much. It's good to have you here again.
Okay,
Yeah.
the same here.
Appreciate,
Okay,
brother.
take care. Bye. One Africa, guys.
What Africa? um, I wanna appreciate again for the super chats. I wanna appreciate Elias Sayome for this. This means a lot. I appreciate so much for your giving, and for the members, I appreciate you guys, and for those who came here and raised their voice today, uh, contribute in the discussion. I appreciate you guys. Let's keep reminding people to show up at 9 p.m. And for those who are celebrating today and tomorrow, Merry Christmas, everybody. I love you guys, and I hope I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Let's keep praying for one another, and yeah, wishing all the best for one another. Thank you, guys. I love you.